Thank you for joining us today. We've got some more chairs coming. Thank you for making this a very packed event. Thank you. So I'm Amanda Blown from Roseborough Travel. Roseborough is right downtown Deland. Hello, hello. And again, we're getting some more chairs. Thank you so much. Our gentleman in the back is bringing us some more chairs in, so we'll have some in just a moment. Again, I'm Amanda Blown from Roseborough Travel, located right down on East Indiana Avenue. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you today our first speaker, and she's my business partner, Kathy. She'll be talking to you today about our group trip going to Poland and Germany. And so we all want to tell Kathy Cześć, because that's how you say hello in Polish.
Cześć.
So Cześć is hi.
Cześć.
So shush. Hi, Kathy. Welcome.
How do you say
Take it
quiet?
away.
Thank you so much.
Kathy, how do you say quiet?
How do you say what?
I didn't know how to say quiet.
Quiet back there in the peanut gallery. Thank you all so much, Amanda. I'm not fabulous with public speaking, but I'm really, really passionate about this tour. So, what? Close to the screen. Okay. Technically challenged. So, thank you all for being so patient. The tour that I'm looking at, the company that we're going with is Globus, Worldwide Vacation. They are a wonderful, wonderful company. They've been in business over 90 years. They go to all over the world, different tours. They're wonderful, escorted adventures where I picked this one mainly because of the inclusions and the destinations that we're going to. Poland is really not a country that's been visited on a regular basis. They're open for business. The dollar is very, very well received there. Great shopping, beautiful countries. You've got your castles, you've got your big cities and so forth. And then of course Germany. And then with the history of World War II, I feel people ought to know. You know, you might have parents or grandfathers that served in World War II. It's quite possible. Going there and seeing these destinations, what was going on during that time frame. So what we're looking at is Globus, and we've got a video. It's going to be about 3 minutes, and it's going to tell you why we like doing escorted tours along with having a tour guide.
I am your Globus tour director, and I am as passionate about discovering what makes this world remarkable as you are.
I am your Globus tour director, and I visit places I'll show you like a local would, because I am one.
I am your Globus tour director, and I'm here at your service to make sure this trip is unforgettable.
We are your Globus tour directors, and for more than 85 years, people like us have been your gateway to discovery. On 6 continents, in nearly 80 countries, honing over 150 tours to perfection.
Which means our way of showing you the world is simply like nothing else on earth.
As your personal guide, I consider it an honor to bring you the history, the culture, the beauty, and the law. And I consider it a pleasure to bring it all to light.
This is my home, and as your tour director, I am determined to introduce you to it in a way that will make you love it the way I do.
This is my life's work and my passion, and I consider it my privilege to work for a company who feels the same.
Travel with us, explore with me, and I promise to deliver you more. Not just the highlights, not just the monuments, but the true flavors of each place, up close and personal, so that every journey tells a story.
On behalf of Globus, I take you to the places and experiences that others can't. And I mix it with the wonder and magic that you can't stop talking about.
the lines.
Take the time to take it all in and enjoy every opportunity to simply enjoy.
Because that is what my job is all about. Taking away the hassles, adding in the delights, and ensuring that from start to finish, your vacation is carefree.
So what are you waiting for? Come with me.
Walk the cobblestones.
Taste the Chianti.
Feel the Mediterranean breeze.
Smell the freshest air.
Hold a piece of history in your hands.
And see the world the way I do.
The way we do. At Globus.
Right, just a little bit about Globus. Really, really, as I said, they're a great company to work with. They're a great company to travel with. I love the idea that you've got very, very comfortable motor coaches that have Wi-Fi. There is a restroom on board, so if anybody's a little concerned about that, we're not going to be spending hundreds of hours on the bus. It's mainly from point A to B, along with stops along the way. I also like the fact that the hotels are generally city center, top notch. We are not staying at Howard Johnson's or anything like that. We're staying in nice hotels. We've got so many inclusions. With this, we've got breakfast every day. There's 7 dinners included in this trip. And another really great point is the free time. We're on our own for lunches and then some dinners. So that'll give us the opportunity to explore the cities that we're in, experiment with the local flavor. And I see people have everybody gotten the pierogies? How do we pronounce them, Amanda?
Pierogies.
Pierogies in the back. I really got to work on my Polish stuff. So, and awesome tour guides. I mean, the tour guides, I feel if you've got a great tour guide, you're going to have a really, really great adventure, you know, so they know the areas, they speak the language, they know what we're looking for. So just again, just a little bit more about Globus. Now, as far as the trip, come on, Poland, East Germany, and World War II. Basically, it's 14 days in July. I'm going on this trip whether I'm a group of 1 or 3 or 4 or 10, 20. I'm going. This is why I picked this trip, was because of these destinations. We've got a lot to see and a lot to do there. We've got 3 nights in Warsaw. We're going in a day ahead of time per one of my VIP clients' requests. She'd asked me, she'd seen a movie called The Zookeeper's Wife. Okay, I don't know if anybody else has seen that. It's based on World War II, and it's about the Warsaw Zoo. Okay, how when Poland was invaded by Germany in 1939, they took over the zoo. They basically wiped out the animals, shipped them to Germany, and then used the zoo as a pig farm. There was a lot, they had a very, very high concentration of Jews in Warsaw where they put them in a ghetto. They were getting out, they were trying to escape, and they went through the zoo with some of the getting them out of the country into the countryside. So basically they saved a lot of lives. So I was asked if that was an option, and I said absolutely, we would totally do that, which is why we're going in a day ahead of time, just to see this particular site, and also to get a little bit more familiar with Warsaw. We've got 2 nights in Krakow, we've got 1 night in Wrocław, 1 night in Dresden, 2 nights in Berlin. And I know this is kind of hard to see, so you've got the flyer that'll give you the times, the days and so forth. 1 night in Nuremberg, and then 2 nights in Munich. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to start in Warsaw. We arrive, we go to the zoo, we see what we can see, we'll meet up with our group the following day. They're going to take us on a city tour of Warsaw. We're going to see how this city had been torn apart, divided, communist rule versus Western rule, and just really, really learn about this. Also, we're going to go to the old quarter, and pretty much Warsaw was destroyed between, the bombing when the war started, the resistance when it started up, and then also when, the Russians were coming. And they pretty much leveled this. They rebuilt the city, replicated the old buildings and the squares and so forth. really, really, really an awesome thing to see. And that's something we'll see a lot when we are in, traveling to the different cities and so forth. The wonderful little squares that they have. You said have coffee, strudel, vodka, people watch. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll also go to our first cathedral, St. John in Warsaw. And then once we leave, we'll spend our time in Warsaw, then we will head on to Krakow. Now, on the way, we're going to stop off at Auschwitz-Birkenau. Auschwitz-Birkenau was one of the most infamous death concentration camps there are. There were a lot of them. It's just not this one or 3 or 4. There were basically 100. This is the most infamous. Estimated total, roughly 3 million people died just in this camp alone. 1 million of them were children. We will go there. We'll spend probably about 2.5, 3 hours there. It's a very somber, very moving experience. So we'll see the shoes, we'll see the luggage, just to experience this. This is just really very stirring to my heart. That it's just man's inhumanity, man at its worst. So after that, we'll go on. Once we get into Krakow, we're going to do a visit to the, and my pronunciation is terrible, and I apologize, the Reinau Synagogue, which is it was built roughly in the 15th century. It is one of 2 active synagogues still in Krakow. The Germans did not destroy it, which very, very much surprised. They basically used it for storage and so forth. So just really, really, it's going to be interesting. You'll have an option in Krakow to visit, and again, I'm pronouncing these wrong, the Wiliskinia salt mines, and again, these photos down here, they really don't do it justice. These salt mines were opened up in the 13th century. They provided salt for all over the area. That's the carvings, and it's just amazing how deep they go. I mean, they call it the Salt Cathedral. It's so stunning that what's going on here. So you can do an optional tour and see those sites, which, like I said, it's not really, the photo just doesn't do it justice. It also was listed as one of the original UNESCO's heritage sites. So it's really, really a cool experience, I think. Now, we're still in Krakow because we're spending 2 nights there. We will go to the Oskar Shindler Factory Museum. Has anybody seen Schindler's List? Yes, okay. I mean, the factory really doesn't look like it did in the movie, that's for sure. They pretty much converted the whole factory into a museum. We'll learn about Oskar Schindler and what he did. I mean, he wasn't just a fabulous guy going to go save people. It just kind of happened. He was a businessman. He was there to make money. He wasn't an ardent Nazi, but he was a member of the Nazi Party. But he saw what was going on as they started doing the ethnic cleansing in Krakow and forcing people into the ghettos. He wanted to do something. He wanted to save his employees. So basically, Schindler's List is his main success in life. He never succeeded in business afterwards, before or after, until this time period. So it also will be a very, very moving experience is going to this factory museum. Then we will head on we'll depart Krakow and we'll come to Wrocław. I'm sorry, my pronunciation again is terrible. I will work on that. We'll visit this little city. It's got the city of many identities, okay? First it was Prussian, then it was Bohemian, it was Austrian, it was German, and then it was finally it became back to Poland. So we're going to be there. Very, very charming city. We'll see it. And then also another cathedral. We'll visit the Cathedral of St. Mary. And that, again, it just doesn't do it justice. This cathedral is probably the most beautifully decorated cathedral in the world. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I'm going to throw another movie at you. Their altar was stolen by the Nazis and was eventually returned to them by the Monuments Men. So, and Donna, that's a George Clooney movie. So, again, we've got history. I mean, we know a little bit about the destination, about where we're going and seeing, but I think seeing and touching it, just is really much more of a personal level. So we'll be able to visit there. And then we'll head on there, we'll go to Dresden, we overnight there. Again, Dresden, devastated during the war. Basically, the inner city was just totally destroyed. They rebuilt it. They reconstructed it, made it look kind of what it is. You've got your old, you've got your modern. It's just really, really, it's going to be a very, very cool city. And also, now this church right here, like I said, Terry, lots of churches, lots of churches. This church is actually a Lutheran church, and it's called the Frauen Church. And again, German is terrible. It means Church of Our Lady. And it was being built in the 11th century. When it was destroyed after the war, they wanted to go ahead and restore it. It took over 180 million euros to restore this church. And what was really cool, a little fact that I picked up was to fundraise and so forth, they made souvenirs out of the original rubble from the bombings and so forth. So it's like whatever it takes to get it rebuilt. So it's kind of neat. And the other picture was just a view of the church on another angle. So then we're going to head to Berlin. And we're there for 2 nights. Now we're going to stop, we're going to tour visit the courtyard at Hartenfels Castle. This is really, this is like the major building in this city, this castle. It's what everybody talks about. 5 wings, okay? And they say it's where the Renaissance, Reformation, and the modern all meet together, because they just didn't build this in 100 years. This went on for hundreds and hundreds of years of rebuilding and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see how unique this is. So, and again, people watch, we see, in those squares and so forth. Now also, with Berlin, we'll have that city tour. Okay, we will see how that city, how it's flourished since the reunification and opened up together. They'll talk about how it was divided when, the Russians just split Berlin right down the middle. I mean, you may have been living on one side of town and you were over shopping on the other. You were stuck on that side. It was horrendous what people went through trying to cross, the wall, go through attics, go under, through sewers, anything like that to get to the west. So we'll see that, and we'll also be able to do photo stops at Brandenburg Gate too. So, and then we'll have the rest of the day and the following day at our leisure to explore Berlin. So I think that's going to be really a great option. Okay, Weimar, or Weimar. Okay, just a pretty little town. Again, I love the squares. Sit there, drink coffee, eat strudel, people watch. I just love it. And then we'll also have an excursion to the former concentration camp of Buchenwald. Okay, now this camp, I believe, was liberated by the U.S., the Army, so it was the Allies that liberated this camp. Horrendous what they saw. Again, it's just another very somber reminder of what happened during this time frame. This country has got such a tragic past, and it just floors me. And then on to Nuremberg. We've got 1 night there. This, I feel, will probably be, at least for me, will probably be the more busy, more emotional part of this particular trip, because we will be visiting the Memoriam of the Nuremberg trials. And if possible, we'll be able to actually go into the courtroom 600. Another movie at you. Judgment at Nuremberg. I mean, oldie, black and white, Spencer Tracy, Judy Garland, Burt Lancaster. Wonderful, shocking, in-your-face movie where it's like, whoa. So really, I'd like to see that. And then also we'll be going to Zeppelin Field. This is where they had the rallies in the 30s and the early 40s. I mean, this is where, they had rallies at night, they had them in the day. This is just really, Hitler knew how to work a crowd, seriously. And we'll be able to go there and see that. I'm uneasy with it, and I'm just being honest, but you know, it's like you can't have one without the other. So we'll also go to the documentation center, and that basically is a Hitler museum. We'll learn more. I mean, maybe we'll learn something we didn't know about Hitler. So I really feel that this is going to be more of an emotional time for me personally, but again, it's Nuremberg. But after that, we're still in a great city, wonderful restaurants, beautiful squares, lots of good things to eat. The shopping, I mean, they rave about gingerbread in this particular city. So Nuremberg and gingerbread, and then shopping like for Christmas and stuff like that. Start early for the great kids. Okay, now we're also going to go on to 2 nights. We're heading to Munich. We're going to stop off at Dachau. And it's again another former concentration camp. Now, Dachau started off as in the 30s, the late 30s, because the Holocaust, the war just didn't start in 39. It was starting in, you know, the earlier 30s and so forth. A lot of the non-conformists to the Nazi regime were sent to Dachau. I mean, if you were educated, if you didn't like what Hitler was saying, that's, you know, or, you know, something like that, they would send you to Dachau. You know, they'd beat you, and eventually it turned into one of a very, very horrible camp also. So we will be going there. But again, we've got a beautiful city. You've got these gorgeous cathedral, Gothic style things that we can see and touch and eat and so forth. So there's the old and the new there. And again, you just can't forget about the history. And then you'll have an opportunity, if you want, this is an optional tour, to do, while we're still in Munich, is to go to the Berchtesgaden and the Eagle's Nest, okay, which is Hitler's bunker, where he lived. The scenery is absolutely stunning and just absolutely gorgeous. So that's an option, or you can feel free to explore Munich more so on your own.
And
Yes.
you know if they have any tours to take a taxi, whatever, and go up to do things?
I imagine we can find out, Donna. So yeah, get with me on that and we'll double check that. So it's really going to be, and then we'll head for home. Now, with this, we're still working on the air. I'm looking at departing out of Orlando. My guess it's going to be Orlando to Frankfurt, Frankfurt on to Warsaw, and then coming back it's going to be Munich, Frankfurt, Frankfurt back to Orlando. So basically, we head for home. The pricing, as of right now, with that additional night, is coming in land only at $27.36 per person. Okay, that's your land. The single pricing, you got a little bit of a supplement there, would be $3,307. Okay, the flyer is off. Okay, it's a little off with the date, a little off with the pricing, but we're on track here. Now, does not include the air. We'll be getting with you on that. Insurance, highly, highly recommend that everybody gets travel insurance. Those who have traveled before, I'd rather you have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So always like to make sure you get that. Now, they've got a promotion going on today. If the deposit is only $400 per person, you deposit by the 18th of October, that's next week, you'll receive an additional $100 off per person. I'm sorry, Donna and Terry, it doesn't apply. It's new bookings only. I'm sorry. I'll get you into the Zoom. Okay. And you'll receive an additional 10% off the early booking discount. You got that. You got the early booking discount. So that's if you deposit by the 18th. Now, we will still take deposits up until, well, we'll take deposits anytime we want, but on the 28th, you'll still get the additional 10% off the early booking discount. So, and what's really nice, if you've ever been with Globus or their Journeys Club, whether it's Monograms, Avalon Waterways, Globus, what else is there? Cosmos, yeah. You can receive an additional 5%. Again, I love the inclusions. You've got breakfast daily, we've got 7 dinners, we've got all the inclusions. I'd love to have you join me. So, and again, thank you for letting me speak about what's very, very heartfelt for me. This is something I'm doing. I must do it. So come with me, and we'll have a great time and cry, laugh, do a lot of soul searching. It'll be wonderful. Thank you. Any questions, anybody?
Questions for Kathy?
And now I gotta entertain you while there.
Yeah, we have a little technology switch to do. So one of the questions was, will this group join another group?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We will be, Globus, generally their group is usually about 40 passengers, 45 passengers. So yeah, we will be meshed in to the other group, but I will get you through the airport, stick with me, we'll get through, we'll go to the zoo, and then once we meet our tour director, then we'll be in their hands until it's time to leave
That's why
again.
this is here.
Very good. Thank you,
Thank
Kathy.
you.
And if anybody has any other questions for Kathy about this trip, you all know where to find her, I'm sure. But she will be hanging out in the back afterwards, and you can definitely ask some questions of her. So, our next presenter is Lori from Holland America Line. And Lori is here to tell you a little bit about Holland America, as well as destination-specific, the fjords and the Baltics, because we had some other clients who really highly recommended that we talk about that and possibly bring a group there. So we are going to have Lori, as soon as our technology works with us.
We have issues with extensions, so my LCD is far enough back for a big image, but the image is bigger than the screen. So are we okay? Is that horrible?
Very good.
Okay.
So Lori from
Thank you
Holland
so
America.
much. How many Holland America Line mariners do I have in the room? I'm sure I have. Oh, okay. So I am preaching to the choir. On behalf of Holland America, thank you so much for your patronage to the brand. We've had a number of wonderful opportunities in the last couple of years. We've had more money from Carnival Corporation to start expanding the fleet after 6 years of no new ships. So that's exciting to be able to say we had a new ship last year, we have a new ship next year, and then we have another ship in 2020. So we're in a growth timeline for the Holland America product. Just a couple of years ago as well, we had some leadership move around. So Stein Cruz, that was our president, is now our CEO and over a couple of other brands inside the family. And we hired a man by the name of Orlando Ashford, who actually had no travel background at all. He was a human resource guy, did a lot of traveling, but he actually looks like he came out of the NFL. But a wonderful personality, tremendous insight in the area of travel. So I know that many of you are very, very well traveled. I think you'll like the direction of Holland America Line if you haven't been in a while. We're really kind of drilling down, if you will, into why we travel and trying to encourage, especially in today's environment, that people don't put their dreams aside and be fearful, that they really do what they want to do and exploring and being a part of what's going on in our world. So if you will, I have about 2 minutes from my president, Mr. Orlando Ashford. I think after you see his talk, you'll know why I wanted to share it with you.
Rotterdam, a city that carries power, the power of our long history, a history that began with the dream of travel and the magic it can have in changing our perspectives. The American humorist Mark Twain, who would have been about 38 years old when our ships first sailed out of Rotterdam, he had much to say about the impact travel can have on an individual's perspectives, on their communities, and more importantly, on the world. There's a famous quote from him that I'd like to share because it's still relevant even today. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. But what he observed nearly 150 years ago was that an inevitable outcome of travel, the power that it has, is that it changes us in positive and important ways. It changes us in the ways we don't even realize as it's happening. Because when our perspectives shift, when we can see the world anew with a broader focus, and our opinions, even sometimes our values, well, they shift too. And as we are fundamentally changed, the ripple effect extends to everyone we touch, and in turn, everyone they touch. Travel really does have the power to change the world. The experiences of our guests and crew and the memories they create with us will be carried with them for the rest of their lives. During the weeks and sometimes months aboard our ships, guests tell us how our officers and crew have become like family. And it's one of the things that I think makes Holland America Line so very special. We connect with our guests and we help make connections with and across the world. Over the past 143 years, Holland America Line has touched what is now millions of people. We've had the amazing opportunity to provide experiences and perspectives of the world and to have an impact. We are many people and many cultures, but we are one world. And I'm so proud to be helping Holland America Line contribute in our own small way to creating this one world.
So I think you can tell why I love sharing that. At times it can be a very emotional point of view or perspective, because we are very privileged to be able to see our world. And what we're trying to do with Holland America is bring those experiences on board through some of our partnerships. And so Holland America Line, as most of you know already, does travel the world for a 4-month Grand World Voyage or a 14-day Koningsdam to Europe. So we have a lot of really wonderful choices. So this is what my family tree currently looks like as we start to grow and different ships transform themselves into other parts of our family tree. As you can see, the Koningsdam is the newest ship in my fleet. It actually is the ship of choice for the 2 itineraries that I'm talking to you about today. The Koningsdam was christened in 2016. Has anyone had an opportunity to actually travel on the Koningsdam? So a couple of people. It is the largest Holland America ship. So there are some people that really love the fact that we're small to mid-size. This is just getting us below 100,000 gross tons with a couple thousand guests. So it's a large ship, but with that comes some tweaks with what we're able to do with the number of verandas, the types of classifications and categories that you have to choose from, a couple of unique venues that are specific to what we call Pinnacle Class, which our next series is the next ship in the series, I should say, is the new Staterooms. But since many of you haven't seen Koningsdam, let me give you a quick site inspection so that you can see what she looks like. Very elegant, although her space is bigger, still Again, very, very lovely to look at. Adam Tahani is the designer. He does a lot of boutique resort hotels, and I think his touch really does stand out with the design on the Koningsdam. So as we move forward, I wanted to just emphasize a few of the accommodations. I'm sure one of the wonderful accommodations of choice would be, of course, the creme de la creme, the Pinnacle Suite. That is as good as it gets on board the Koningsdam. Then, of course, we have a variety of Neptune suite choices, so still lovely. And these two classifications give you access to the Neptune Lounge, which is very, very nice because it's your own hangout spot. Wonderful coffee, teas, and goodies that are in there, in concierge assistance, a little hand-holding, again, a nice private space. We have a number of signature suites, so I wish you could see this a little clearer, but these pictures can be shared online with the staff at Roseborough Travel and also certainly in your atlas. Vista Suites as well. This ship has almost 1,000 suites, which is just an awesome statement to make for a Holland America ship. Veranda staterooms as well, quite a number of categories. Again, the same amenities, the same amount of space, just location. Family suites. So this is a nuance to the new Pinnacle class. There are 32 of these that accommodate 5. There's 2 bathroom facilities, so 2 people can shower at the same time. There's also the king-size bed, the pull-out couch, but a footnote that the 5th is actually over the main bed. So that was a little bit of a disappointment, just to be transparent, because I was hoping that extra bed would be over the pull-out couch, but there must be some sort of architectural reason as to why the bed is over the 5th is over the main bed. So just make sure that you all love each other. If you're doing 5 in that room, it's a good sized room, but I want you to be not surprised about that. Ocean view staterooms as well, quite a number of those, and my favorite, single staterooms. So the first attempt by Holland America Line to deliberately think about the single traveler and their ocean view rooms. So we didn't make these the closets, the afterthought. We did give it some thought, and you're not paying double occupancy for going as a single guest. So I'm really excited about that. Interior staterooms, of course, so you can go a little bit more budget-minded or work your way up. Like I said, there's quite an assortment of itineraries. So this is our first itinerary that we have today. It's the 14-day voyage of the Midnight Sun, and it leaves, as you can see, from Amsterdam and returns to Amsterdam, and it has an itinerary that looks like this, right off of Roseborough's website. So you can see all of the different places that this particular cruise goes to. One of the nice things that I attempted to do for you, since I've not done this cruise myself, much like Kathy, is do a little research, see what it's all about, what are the claim to fames, and of course I'm ready to go with you. So there's some fun things about going into these ports. Haugesund, Norway, so I don't know if I have any Norwegians in the crowd, if I'm like obliterating pronunciation. Feel free to say, no, Lori, it's this. So it is a coastal community that we come into. You can see there a bronze statue of an American icon, Marilyn Monroe. So I thought, how fascinating. Here I go all the way to Haugesund, Norway, and there's Marilyn Monroe to meet me. But there's a well-known Norwegian artist known Niels Ace, who is very celebrated. He did Marilyn Monroe and Charlie Chaplin. So again, this was out of his time period, and he did these figures in bronze. So kind of interesting that our celebrities make such an impression worldwide. And there's other pieces of notable history, certainly, in Norway. So King Fairhair, and of course I want to think of, what's the caricature? I can see him now when I say Fairhair. Shrek comes to mind. I don't know, yeah, exactly. But he was the first king of Norway. Forgive me, anyone with Norwegian heritage. But he's buried here at Haugesund, and he lived here from 850 to 934. So that is just unfathomable. But again, there's a lot to do in seeing the historic beginnings of this destination. One of the more notable features, of course, is the fjord cruising. And what I have heard is this rivals Alaska. And it must be awesome because Alaska is my favorite destination. So the first scenic piece is, of course, Hardanger Fjord. It's the 4th longest fjord in the world. So that is a huge statement. It stretches 111 miles, and that's from the Atlantic Ocean into Norway. And so it goes into the innermost point until it reaches the town of Oda. So quite a spectacular sight. I can't imagine, the pictures are beautiful, what it must be like in person. And then Bergen, Norway. So maybe some of you have had Bergen in your travels before. Founded back in 1070 by King Olav, and Olav Kyrie, excuse me. And since my slide is all messed up there, I have to use my laptop for my notes. But Bergen, Norway is known for its architecture, its agriculture, its petroleum. It has, certainly because it's coastal, it has a lot of maritime history. And so alongside it, not only is it really picturesque, but you can go into some of the museums and see some of the original pieces of maritime history as well. So very fascinating. I don't think that you will struggle for things to do on this trip at all. Also, if you want to see royalty, and there's a fascination with that in our world anyways, you can see where the royal family resides. You can also look inside where older royalty once resided and where their fortresses are. And then, of course, there are preserved castles and other castle tours. There are 2 destinations here that are actually included in our Grand World Voyage. So just an aside, if anyone wants to leave for our Grand World Voyage 2019, so I'm giving you time to plan. Both of these ports of call are included in the Grand World Voyage as new ports. So we have Flom, Norway, and we also have, where's my other guy? Well, he must be on my other side. Which is known for those really steep slighted slopes. And there's also a well-known, the railway that actually goes around those steep slopes. So that must be awesome as well. Again, in comparing it to Alaska with probably the White Pass and Yukon Rail, tracing the trail of 1898. Again, very awesome technology to allow you to do that in the first place. We have other fjords here. We've got Sonja Fjord. This is the largest and most known. It's 127 miles long, so it comes into second place in terms of how large a fjord it is. And then we have Hardanger, Norway, and Hardanger Fjords. So here, again, we have a couple of waterfalls that have made themselves known in our world. We have the Seven Sisters, and we also have the Suder. So these waterfalls, like this one pictured, again, are what have put these fjords on the map. So really, really beautiful. There's floating boardwalks as well for better points of viewing. So a lovely place to see. Then we have Molde, Norway, and Koningsdam, Norway. So again, there's some similarity with how some of these towns look. The age of them, some of them certainly remodified due to time, but also during the summer, being able to see the northern lights. So another attraction, which is why this itinerary has the midnight sun in its title. So very, very beautiful, and that kind of gives you an idea of looking at a scenic as the midnight sun is in the sky. This is between the 14th of May and the 31st or the end of July. So very, very nice way to see the northern lights. And then we also have the North Cape in Stavanger, Norway. And then Stavanger is the third largest city in Norway, and it has, again, all of these ports go back in time quite significantly. So this reaching back with stories into the 12th century. Lots of shopping, museums. I mean, you could get off the ship and just stroll around and fill your day quite easily. So that was that itinerary, 14 days, and if that wasn't enough for you, then we're going to add on another 7. So we're going to utilize some of the itinerary that I just shared with you and tag on some other ports of call, still leaving from and returning to Amsterdam. So that's really nice on airlift, buys down the cost of that when you have the same bookend cities. So these are, this is a May trip again on the newest Holland America Line ship, the MS Koningsdam. Oops, using my pointer. So this is what it looks like in the Roseborough, on the Roseborough website. So you can go there and see how much time you spend in each of the cities and which fjords you're visiting. Copenhagen, of course, very well known. Founded in the 10th century, so we have Tivoli Gardens, we have the Little Mermaid. Actually on one of the Holland America ships, I should know which one, but it's just not there right now, we have a replication of the Little Mermaid. In fact, Holland America ships are known as floating museums. So oftentimes, because we were born in the Netherlands, you will see quite a lot of beautiful art and antiques on board the ship. What else can I tell you about Copenhagen? Yes.
Just a little about the mermaid.
Yes.
Copenhagen.
Yes.
Warsaw has got a mermaid also, and it's rumored to be the cousin to this one. So when we get to Warsaw, we're going to have to look for the mermaid statue
So
too.
we have some folklore that goes along with that. I don't know if the same person also did the bronze of Marilyn. I don't know. It's been a long day. But castles also, you can imagine castle tours are especially big in this part of the world, not to mention cathedrals and the beauty of the marbles and the architecture. Speaking of which, architecture here, I thought that this was quite fascinating. So this is Berlin. So we're looking at Warnemünde. We're looking at, let's see, the lighthouse built in 1897, and the teapot, which is actually Teepot, but I put teapot like we would spell teapot. This is East German architecture. So kind of fascinating that that's what that structure is. So again, a lot of interesting things to see and look at and admire from old to very modern architecture. Tallinn, Estonia. So also absolutely beautiful. I wish we could blow these images up and put shades here so you could see these towns a little bit clearer. But again, this is located on the shores of the Gulf of Finland. And so you have the cobblestone streets that really do kind of coincide with what you're seeing there. They're not really false fronts, those are authentic buildings. Gothic Town Hall, which was built in the 13th century. And then the Church St. Nicholas, which is one of the landmarks. So quite a lot in just those pictures and those brief bullet points. But again, inside of many of these destinations, plenty of additional optional choices. St. Petersburg, Russia, I mean, you could spend days here. So, where do you go first? So, of course, you have several centuries represented here. Peter the Great from the 1703. You have Baroque and Neoclassical style. You have these fantastic architectural icons that we see. The Hermitage Museum, Catherine the Great's home. So this is just, again, you could spend days inside of these places. So a lot to see inside of this itinerary. Helsinki, Finland, the capital. So again, housing many museums, but Market Square, so you could spend some time probably just shopping and sightseeing and people watching, going in and out of the churches. And then there are a couple of landmarks here. There are fortresses that were built across 6 islands. I'm not even going to begin to try and pronounce those, but the 2 S sisters, I'll just say, fortresses that were there, I'm sure, to protect Helsinki. Then we have Stockholm, the capital of Sweden. So again, much to see here. I don't know if we have any Swedish folks, Swedes in the crowd. No? So again, 14 islands and more than 50 bridges that extend into the Baltic Sea archipelago. We've got an old town, and then we have, again, back to royal palaces, museums, looking at how the noblemen lived back many, many centuries ago. So Stockholm. Then we actually cruise Stockholm archipelago, so that's just absolutely beautiful. So you're able to see all of the many islands, just a few of them, and there are thousands of them, and the formations that are there that make that particular landscape quite beautiful. Very different from the fjords. And now then Kiel, Hamburg, Germany. So again, other places. Were you going to Hamburg, Kathy? Did you mention Hamburg, Germany, or no?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay. So getting into the Baroque style and focusing on the history of this port of call, and again, lots of maritime history is present here in Hamburg. Aarhus, Denmark, the second largest city in Denmark, founded in the 8th century. We have the Aarhus Cathedral, a lot of musical influence here, and again, plenty to do. Oopsie. And then Amsterdam, that's the beautiful picture that represents Amsterdam. So opportunities there coming into and leaving from. For folks that are doing Kathy's tour too, we have the Anne Frank Museum that's in Amsterdam. So to continue on a varying theme. And that was closed for 10 years and opened, I believe, back in 2014. So a fascinating place to also go in terms of historical value. So we have more fjords, the Ida Fjord in Norway. So beautiful scenic cruising. National parks inside. Scenic cruising, Hardanger Fjord, which we've already talked about. So here's where we get the duplication of the previous itinerary. Allison, again, going way back into history and the different, here where we bring in wildlife opportunities to see these sea life, the penguins and otters. And again, the beauty of these itineraries is the walkability of them, so the ease of being able to have some mobility in them. More fjord cruising, so this is Hardanger, Norway, and then cruising your, boy, easy for me not to say Hardanger Fjord, and back to seeing the sisters, the 7 sisters. And then Bergen, which we, another just picture of a different angle to view Bergen, Norway. And then that's 21 days in a clip But again, plenty to see and do. It's really all about your energy and what things are of most interest to you. So you could take on the museums, you can look at the castles or the cathedrals, or you can shop. You could just enjoy the culinary pieces of all of these destinations. And then, of course, you have your Holland America ship, which is fantastic. Most of you are Holland America Mariner, so I'm not sure what new news I have for you in terms of partnerships. But I don't know, has anyone seen what goes on with BBC Earth on board ship? It is absolutely incredible. I got to see on board the ship in our main showroom, we have a live performance orchestral, and in the backdrop is really almost IMAX of our planet, either frozen planet or part of our world through wildlife. And it's just very moving, very visually beautiful. It'll give you some great ideas about where in the world you may want to travel outside of where you may be in that moment in time. And then we play some fun games that are a little bit more whimsical twist on testing your knowledge of the planet. And so this kind of is my attempt to show you what that looks like, but it doesn't really represent it as in any way. It's spectacular. So if you've ever done any IMAX movies and have had any kind of live entertainment to accompany that, that's really what you're getting, a very entertaining and enriching experience. As I mentioned, we are known as floating museums, so it's very natural for us to have a relationship with Rijksmuseum. So we keep kind of continuing to write programming on what we're doing with this relationship. So right now, we're actually putting some of our areas that don't have much artwork around them and duplicating artwork from the Rijks, such as the Milkmaid, and giving you opportunities to draw, maybe channel your inner artist. So there's some fun things that you can do with this particular talent. Culinary, of course you eat on Holland America. The food is good, and thank goodness, because we come to the table quite a bit on a cruise experience. So if the food is bad, then you're going to be miserable. So I can tell, even though I'm a thin gal, that I do enjoy the food on my product. Very, very proud of it. We've got a great set of Michelin chefs, some of them very familiar. If you're a foodie, you'll recognize these people. They're inside the brochure, so you'll be able to understand who they are much, much better. And then inside of our Culinary Arts Center, we now have America's Test Kitchen, a new relationship. Anyone know about America's Test Kitchen? Because this was announced maybe a year and a half ago, and in a sales meeting, everyone, our product managers were like, we're getting America's Test Kitchen, and there was like, what? And I'm not a cook. So if you're a cook, you would know about America's Test Kitchen. So when you're in the bookstore or the Walmart or the Publix, start looking at the magazines and the books, and you'll see a lot of culinary cookbooks from America's Test Kitchen. So I have a little fun minute video here on what you do as a part of your programming with America's Test Kitchen.
Hi, I'm Bridget Lancaster. And I'm Julia Collins. We're the hosts of America's Test Kitchen, the most popular instructional cooking show on television. We're in our 2,500 square foot test kitchen, which is also the set of our television show, located just outside Boston, Massachusetts. We're so excited to partner with Holland America Line to deliver unique culinary experiences during your cruise. We'd like to tell you a little about what we do here at America's Test Kitchen's home base and introduce you to America's Test Kitchen on board Holland America Line. Every day, over 50 test cooks come to work in our test kitchen. Our test cooks are also scientists, historians, detectives, and artists. Together, we develop the absolute best recipes for all of your favorite foods. At America's Test Kitchen, we make our recipes 40, 50, 60 times until we get it right. We're the only kitchen that develops recipes like this, and that's why our recipes are so foolproof. Our devotion to the home cook doesn't stop with recipes. From which equipment to use, to which products to buy, we test everything in the consumer cooking universe, so you don't have to. Well thought about, slightly united, completely unbiased, undeniably accurate. As you can see, we love what we do here in the Test Kitchen, and we're so excited to share our passion for food and cooking with you. During your cruise, we encourage you to join one of the demonstration classes taught by instructors trained here in America's Test Kitchen. Or take a hands-on workshop where you can work directly with an instructor and get your hands dirty. Between activities, make sure to check out our episodes of our 2 television shows, America's Test Kitchen and Cook's Country, on your onboard channel. You can watch us cook 24/7. And when you're back home, check out our website for more episodes. Have a great cruise.
So that's just some of the fun that you can have when you're on board ship. And if you're, like I said, if you enjoy food, then just go for the show and taste what they cook. So it's a win-win. A couple of other quick notes before I wrap up. The digital workshops are still there, very, very popular. So if you're looking for how to, download, reload, upload, create a social media site, any number of techie things, that's a really fun space. B.B. King's Blues Club, Lincoln Center, and Billboard on Board are what we call music walks. So we have a variety, really something for everyone in terms of music on board ship. And then this is our world stage, which is our main showroom. And the reason I show this is because we really are coming a long way with all of the things that we can do in these facilities. So we attract a broader range of talent. So you just never know who might be a future guest on board Holland America Line. The spas, great places to be too. Those heated mosaic tiled chairs are one of my faves. Don't make the mistake of sitting in one because it will be very difficult to get yourself back up because they are very, very nice. But the spas, and you saw the big hydrotherapy pool on the Koningsdam in my videos, so the areas are very, very, very nice. We do have many layers of promotion, so this is where it's extremely important to sit with Roseborough Travel. Again, Amanda and Kathy, I would never want to be you because it's very difficult to follow the bouncing ball. So we have everything from what we call a snap fare, which is a non-refundable, very rock bottom fare, to something that's loaded up with amenities like the Explore 4, but it will cost you more because there's so many other additional pieces to it. So they'll be able to show you pricing and why so that it makes a little bit more sense. If you book in the month of October too, we recognize, not just me, but most of my cruise line partners recognize October as cruise month. So if you book a cruise in the month of October for Holland America Line, it will be based on how many days and what kind of accommodation, but whatever it is, you'll get additional onboard spending money. So that's the perk, and I can't tell you exactly what it is because I don't know what you're going to buy. And with that, I have one more closing video, and if you have any questions for me, I'll be here.
An inevitable outcome of travel, the power that it has is that it changes us in positive and important ways. Travel has the potential to change the world. We connect with our guests, and we help make connections with and across the world. And as we are fundamentally changed, the ripple effect extends to everyone we touch. And it's one of the things that I think makes Holland America Line so very special.
The blend, oh sure. I hesitate to mention the blend because it's only on the Koningsdam, but hey, if you go on the itineraries that I just talked about, the blend is a venue on board the Koningsdam where there are 5 barrels on the wall. You go in, it's not just, well, it is wine tasting, but the name the blend is, or has a meaning, and that is you get to make your own wine. So from the 5 different taps that they have on the wall inside of the venue, you're able to create, like, my name's Lori Taylor, I could make Taylor blend or something. And then we put it in a bottle for you, cork it, and you can bring it home and share that with family and friends while you tell them about your great experience. So it's currently only on the Koningsdam. Without a doubt, it'll be on her sister, the new Stockholm. But we can thank Chateau St. Michel out of Washington State. Holland America Line is based in Seattle. So we have a Washington, or what we call a homegrown, if you will, partner that's bringing and helping us bring these wines to life on board this ship. So that's called the blend, and it's in the brochure.
When I went on board the Koningsdam last year for Thanksgiving, and my husband and I did the blend experience. My husband does not drink wine. I drink wine. My husband blends wine very well, and I do not. So it's very funny that we got that experience, that he was able to, he's a much better blender than I am. But they teach you. If you like wine, they teach you, and you get a really great experience out of it. And the America's Test Kitchen was fantastic. So we went to a dinner that evening, actually, with the cooks in that area. And yes, that was really neat. But definitely, so if you can fill out the forms on your table and tell us whether you were interested, or if you're interested in something new, then maybe what brought you into the presentation. The Baltics, the Fjords, or Poland for Kathy's presentation. Again, we'd like to thank you all for joining us. And I'm going to teach you a little bit more Polish and some other languages as well. So instead of cheers, you know, we say na zdrowie.
Na zdrowie. Write that one down.
Prost, prost, and skål.